G'day, I'm Ali Ammo, and this is the A Lease on Life podcast. I'm rolling a little bit differently. If you're on YouTube, you can see I'm all snug in my fluffy gear that I wear to sleep. It's cold here, and it is super early morning. It's still dark outside. My window's open, and there's a lot of different possums that live outside. There's all kinds of crazy noises of the Australian wildlife you might hear, and I'm just going to roll with it today. Part of my purpose on Earth is to give us a lease on life together. It's not really new, but there's this idea that I've had for a while, and it makes so much sense to me. And science, or the power strand, so energy in science, when you talk about one, you always talk about the other with the concepts or the fundamental elements, as I call it, with the web of life philosophy that I created. Science and energy together form the power strand, and so when I say science backs something up, that means there's an element of energy involved as well. But the question I'm going to start this episode with is focused more on the time strand. And if you're new to the game, new to me, it's beliefs in history. So when I ask you to consider this from a historical standpoint, but also your own personal, so you're looking at it from the self sphere, but consider the world sphere and the social sphere. Think about it in all three approaches and contexts, and take a historical perspective. And I'm asking you your belief, really. How effective do you think protests have been throughout history at creating the change that they wish for? I don't know if rebutting is the right word. It's just standing up for what you believe in or speaking up alongside others who see and feel what you do. I became aware of actually quite a few different approaches or strategies. I don't know what to call it. It wasn't strategies. It was just naturally occurring events throughout history. Some of them are just incredible. Some of them were almost no one and no effort and caused the biggest stir. Some of them were large groups with a concentrated effort, and sometimes it made things collapse or contributed to it, and other times it was all kinds of different things, really. I don't want to influence your belief, but I want you to consider what your opinion is. And when you do that, I want you to take note of what your belief looks like when you're thinking of protests. What do you see? What does it look like? What does it sound like? Do you agree with what the pro side is testing the boundaries of society for and speaking to, standing up for, making a stand, whatever you want to call it? Oh, there's my cat. Sorry if something happens. Do you want to go outside? Can you wait? I'm a bit in the middle of something. Give me some time. Good boy. Something always puzzled me. I heard it first when I was a kid, but you know Mother Teresa? There's a bit of a famous quote that come from her some time ago. And she said, I was once asked why I don't participate in anti-war demonstrations. I said that I will never do that, but as soon as you have a pro-peace rally, I'll be there. I don't know if you can hear that. Kookaburras laughing. Bunch of them. Having a cack. Good old cackle. So I didn't get that as a kid. Like, pro-peace, anti-war, what's the difference? Isn't it the same thing? I very much understand it totally differently now. And I would argue that my idea about how we can change the world truly lies resting on her perspective. And I agree with it. So if you just think about energy, look at it in a binary of opposing forces, like positive, negative, right? And there'll always be neutrality, but those people are neither for nor against, and these things never come up against each other like they would in a protesting kind of situation. Think about the energy that a collective group are adding to the cause of war, just with the word war being in the focus and it just being an anti-war protest. Energetically, you're still feeding energy into that space, into that arena, into that conversation. The conversation focuses on that which you want. If abolished is the right word. I wish that could happen. War is abolished on Earth. Too big a dream? So was Martin Luther's at the time. My idea is to change the game of what we see as protesting. And the reason being, energetically, one thing, but also scientifically, what has been proven to be effective with minimal effort. And when you think about protests in general, I think about the backlash received by those who are protesting or speaking up for those protesting, sharing the message on behalf of or in unison with those who are protesting. Me personally, when the movements that are happening are shared globally, and it might not necessarily relate to the place or the event directly that happened. So the Black Lives Matter movement, George Floyd is now a name known around the world. And it's the event that sparked the movement. In tune with, I would argue, sitting on the bus. The point I want to make is in relation to Palestine and the protests that have happened worldwide. You see what? You hear what? You feel what when you see it? Sometimes it's like when I watch the haka, like that connection, that power, that strength, that happiness, that pride, that amazement. The haka makes me cry sometimes. You get a lot of anger, people taking up space. Often the spaces are disruptive to cities that are popular and very busy. Sometimes the purpose is to have it sectioned off in advance and do all the right things to have your movement. But sometimes the real purpose is the attention that it can grab from the media and things when it doesn't happen that way and it's not really planned openly and it comes from the people. I don't know if you heard about the meditation that happened with a group of, I think it was around 1,500 from memory, for 3 weeks. I think I took a screenshot from my research. I've got devices for days today. Bear with me. This is taken from Science on Group Meditations and World Peace. This article was reposted from www.peacefulwarriors.net, and this was February 4th, 2015. Meditation has the potential to literally transform the world. In 1978, what is known as the Maharishi Effect took place when a group of 7,000 individuals, over the course of 3 weeks were meditating in hopes of positively affecting the surrounding city. They were able to literally transform the collective energy of the city, which reduced global crime rates, violence, and casualties during the times of their meditation by an average of 16%. Suicide rates and automobile accidents also were reduced, with all variables accounted for. In fact, there was a 72% reduction in terrorist activity during the times at which this group was meditating. Almost 50 studies have been done further confirming the benefits of global meditation and its direct impact on everything in the world, even so far as to have the results published in the Journal of Crime and Justice in 1981. We know meditation has endless health and physiological effects, but it's now being explored by politics and sociology because of its undeniable energetic impact. For example, a day-by-day study of a 2-month assembly in Israel during August and September of 1983 showed that on days when the number of participants at a peace-creating assembly was high, the intensity of an ongoing war in neighbouring Lebanon decreased sharply. Minced my words there. When the number of participants was high, war deaths in Lebanon dropped by 76%. When the study was repeated in Wales, they got amazing results. In 1987, Merseyside had the third highest crime rate of the 11 largest metropolitan areas in England and Wales. By 1982, it had the lowest crime rate, 40% below levels predicted by the previous behaviour of the series. There were 255,000 less crimes in Merseyside from 1988 to 1992 than would have been expected had Merseyside continued to follow the national crime trend. The secret of the global Maharishi Effect is the phenomenon. The secret of the global Maharishi Effect is the phenomenon known to physics as the field effect, the effect of coherence and positivity produced from the field of infinite correlation, the self-referral field of least excitation of consciousness, the field of transcendental consciousness, which is basic to creation and permeates all life everywhere. Meditation takes your consciousness to the levels of existence where your intentions have consequential effects on the level that we interact with before it even manifests. Consciousness gives rise to the material. The key idea is that all of existence emanates out of a field of universal consciousness called the unified field or the superstring field. This was written by David Edwards, PhD, Professor of Government, University of Texas at Austin, and this is a direct quote. I think the claim can be plausibly made that the potential impact of this research exceeds that of any other ongoing social or psychological research program. It has survived a broader array of statistical tests than most research in the field of conflict resolution. This work and the theory that informs it deserve the most serious consideration by academics and policymakers alike. This idea that I had a little while ago was instead of you can still have the same people that want to, and I'm going to focus on Palestine with this, that want to stop the genocide and want a peaceful resolution, whatever they may visualize that to look like or be in their mind, in their heart, whatever. Maybe it's not the best example, but I'll go with it for now because it's the point I'm trying to make, not the current example that best illustrates it, I would say. Because I don't know what your personal opinion is on what happens when, let's say, the majority get what they want and the genocide stops, then what? For some, it may be the recognition of Palestine globally as a country. It may be borders changed maybe they're shared more equally. Maybe people truly believe at the end of the day Israel shouldn't exist. Just like a very interesting video I listened to from an Australian where he was saying Australia has to side with Israel because by the same token, Australia shouldn't exist. Australia was created, it's a settler colony, whatever the monarchy wants to call it. At the end of the day, it was genocide. And the effects of that are still very much alive all over this country today. And not just for the First Nations peoples, but all the peoples who had this cycle inflicted generation upon generation upon generation and don't realize how much they inflict it themselves in their words, in their thoughts, in their beliefs, in their actions. And you also have to consider the role of the media in all of these things. Because when you look at protesting globally and historically, the role of the media was vastly different than it is today. I want to read to you actually one of the most powerful and to me shocking because the beauty, like I almost wanted to cry. It's called the Singing Revolution. I didn't even know this was a thing. 1986 to 1991. Estonia was occupied by the Soviets first in 1939, followed by the Nazis, and then again by the Soviets. So you can imagine what that was like. But a quarter of their entire population was deported to Siberia by the end of World War One. During that time of World War One, it was song that helped them maintain their culture, language, and their dignity. It was just, I look at it, looking at the picture and knowing from my own Italian background how much singing means to not only the elder Italians when they get together, just the likelihood of Italian songs being sung is extraordinarily high, guaranteed almost. But the youth did it too. I was in Mykonos in Greece and was with some Italians and they were singing songs that they all know, but there were ones that I knew too. So I kept singing those ones and I couldn't believe it that they did it on their own before I approached. I approached based on the fact that I'm like, this is like home. It's who people are. It's the expression of that. And they had these national songs. When the Soviets occupied their country again, it was outlawed and it was all things of any demonstration of pride and connection really to Estonia, including their songs. So in 1987, there were ongoing mass demonstrations all over the streets of Estonia. No weapons, no riots, just voices. Hundreds of thousands come together, which was risking their lives, just to sing the national songs of their country in unison. And the songs were threatening the Soviet communists because of the passion and patriotism that come along with them. The protests kept growing in strength and numbers, weakening or helping to weaken the Soviet government, and it paved a way to restoring Estonia to be a free nation once again. And the story proves that the power of song should never be underestimated. This is from 5 times peaceful protests made a difference in history. This is online, blog.darlingsociety.com. There are others there, but the point I want to make is how little needs to be done on the outside for the big stuff to be changing, not just on the inside, but on the outside of the world or the situation at hand. So my idea is in place of the posters and the messages and the chanting and the yelling and the backlash that comes with that, or the angry messages or the very sharp and cutting, controversial in many ways, because when you're protesting, you're speaking up for shit that people think is actual literal shit. You know what I mean? They don't want to hear it. And so the message isn't well received. And as we learnt during the pandemic stuff, the media coverage just on sheer numbers of people speaking up against something that doesn't align with, you know, the blah. It will be hundreds of thousands, even millions, but only being reported a couple of hundred people there. And the images that are portrayed, even how the people are treated, they don't have to be doing a lot to get a negative reaction. And you know, the images where you get the riot police all strapped up, ready to go, and there's people having to defend themselves really, but they're angry. They're angry that they're trying to speak up and out and against something, but for something that is right. And they're met with that kind of energy. But it's like a push and pull, but it's like you're hitting each other at the same time, wanting someone to break. And it doesn't need to be that complicated. The vision I had was the same sort of thing, the same people gathered together in the same place, but it's not about movement externally. You don't physically go anywhere. It was just group meditation. Everyone silently spending an hour sitting and meditating, visualizing their own personal visualization of what they would like to occur, what they want, what they feel is right. It shouldn't be with violence. It just should be the outcome with the peace and the love and the beauty and humanity welcoming that, embracing that, and supporting that. Imagine how difficult it would be for riot police to rock up to 100,000 people all sitting on the main street in the major city of your country, capital even, taking up a busy bridge. Doesn't have to be both ways. One way is enough to have the disruption to get the media coverage, but it's going to be really hard to say someone did something out of line or anything when it's just people sitting with their eyes closed. It doesn't need to be music playing, the sounds of, we'll call it nature, human nature, can be their background. But imagine the energy of everyone doing this, even for 10 minutes, but let's just say an hour, and not only feeling the effects of that visualization on your body and the joy and the power and the strength and the positivity and the happiness and what world peace would feel like, what justice, true justice would feel like. And it's happened because you're visualizing it. You're manifesting it. We're all manifesting it together. And there doesn't necessarily need to be a design on what your visualization is. It's just yours. But all that energy from all of those meditations are being directed towards a central cause, and it's positive, it's peaceful, and it's the same message, but they're a lot closer to creating it with a collective manifestation. And then afterwards, everyone just gets up and goes in whatever direction they need to go to get back to where they were when they got ready to leave for the day. And on the way, random people will bump into each other or walk side by side. And so what did you visualize? And then they share their visualizations with each other, discuss their own. That was a good idea. Next time I'm going to do that one. Oh, that was brilliant. I can see it now. I can feel it. It's amazing. That's brilliant. That's brilliant, and just the energy that they're feeding all of this. And then the media pulls somebody aside to say, hey, what were you doing? What just happened? What, you were meditating? It's like, yeah, I was visualizing an end to the genocide and I saw a peaceful resolution. Oh, what did that look like to you? Like, look at how the conversation automatically changes. The media would find it not impossible, but difficult to try and, spin it or shut it down or ignore it. Because the idea is if you block one side of a bridge and one side can get through and the traffic can keep running, they'll be slow. They will cause traffic just to be watching. Like, why did I just see 10,000 people sitting on this bridge with their eyes? Are they sleeping? Are they meditating? What the hell? What is this? And there isn't a sign. So they're going to the media and they want answers. You know what I mean? And yeah, I can see there's a possibility that could open up a can of worms because there's no, but afterwards the people can take to socials. They can share their visualization on a Facebook Live, an Instagram Live, TikTok Live, a reel, anything. Share a story of something that somebody told them on the way home from that meditation, or a plan that a group of people walking to go to that meditation that day, they were all visualizing the same outcome together to amplify the possibility of that timeline coming to fruition. Wouldn't it just look better, feel better, go better, and actually happen more if we use what we know with science and energy to change how we've done things historically? One of the biggest, most interesting, it was like a nothing thing, but a massive thing. It was the platform that it happened on. One of the stories that I read about, and seeing that the Olympics just closed up, it's even more fitting. There were two African Americans who won gold and silver, and when the flag came up and the anthem went on, they bowed their heads. They were both wearing gloves and they raised one fist together in solidarity. Wasn't met with the intention behind it. It was taken the wrong way and disrespect and all that. But they had their chance to speak after they made their move. And just the image alone, the power was all in that image. It has almost the exact opposite effect that the image from Tiananmen Square had on me and still has. I don't like looking at it, to be honest. Who would? Point of the story, it's not a deeply complicated approach and it makes sense. Do you think it's possible that that could work? There's already like global meditations for world peace that happen annually or in globally. It's I think they try for the same time. There's even a music countess in where around the world in all the schools it's like aimed for the same sort of time zone or the equivalent in your time zone, but the time that everyone's just making music. And I loved that when I was a teacher, when everybody was making music around the world. Because at that moment when I was listening, I'm like, this is happening globally. How cool is that? Do you think that it's possible and a positive shift to switch it from a protest or an anti whatever blah protest to make it just pro outcome? Doesn't have to be called rally. We can break all those cycles and call it what we want to call it, make it how we want to make it, do it how we want to do it. Can you see that? Does that make sense to you? Does that seem realistic? Does that seem like a difficult shift? Think of the images that that creates around the world in the media. Think of the stories that will come from that and the energy, any energy hearing it, any energy reading it, any energy seeing it. The focus on it alone is enough to amplify that energy, even if it is just momentary. And then it can just keep going and going and going. To me, it seems almost like a common sense thing. And I'm sure I'm not the only person to think of something like that. But a couple of months ago, at meditation group, we were doing a guided activity with the meditation teacher, and it was meant to be like reversing time, past life regression-ish kind of stuff. And you're meant to rewind, whereas straight away I diverted and went fast forwarding. And I just saw images. And the image that I saw, it wasn't even through my eyes. It was just images. And just seeing all these people gathered together, and it was stillness and quietness. And it wasn't heavy in color. It was more heavy in power. And it was seeing people gathered together, meditating. And I didn't know what, but it was so many people. And I got this very strange feeling. The sensations all through my body were different. It was just connecting with something different. I don't know how to explain it. But then this like supercharged soul fire situation happened for me, because that was me lighting up like, oh my God, I'm seeing this in the future. This is something that can and will happen right now. It's possible. It's effective. It's a peaceful movement. It's not loud and screaming. It's like the silent ninja, you know? In stealth mode, you're doing these things and then you just like yap about it for days, months, years, even afterwards. And it's there forever. People's blog posts, like I just read a couple today. The energy that can be amplified from that, and it's a lot harder to twist it. I was so happy to know this is a possibility of our future. From my mind, my heart, my connection with the imagery that I saw before, I'm like, oh, quick, gotta rewind. I'm meant to be doing something else. At the end, the first thing I shared was, so do you remember that thing I said about the way I'd handled my protest thing? Well, this was me seeing it happening, and I didn't ask. I just fast forwarded, and this is what I saw, and it's going to happen. I wanted to know what your thoughts are on that, and I wanted to share just an idea I had that probably many others have had, and let's start talking about that. Let's make that a reality. I'd love to know your thoughts. Or I'd love you to just consider your thoughts on this. and send your energy to that possibility for me. I'm going to leave it there. It's just an idea I had. It's just some energy that I've directed towards those thoughts based on the things that I've been seeing and hearing and what's been going on around the world, and how much you want to do something and how helpless you can feel. And there's always power in numbers, but imagine what we could do if the collective consciousness was focused on visualizing the same outcome. You take it easy, people. You'll hear from me soon. Hope to hear from you sooner, but just saying. You'll hear from me soon. No pressure. Take it easy.